Hey, everybody. Here's a quick word about our sponsors. First one being LASRApp. You can find them at www.lasrapp.com. They're a laser activated shot reporter. They're amazing what it can do, all of the things that you can do with it, multiple guns, multiple locations, any type of target. They have a smorgasbord of items on their website store. Check them out. Use the affiliate link below or on our website, casualshooterpodcast.com, and use the code CSP 2021 for up to 15% off items not covered by the affiliate link. Next up, we have Gun Butter. I am one of those people that I clean my gun all the time because I feel like you've always got to clean the crud and put a fresh coat of lubrication on it. That's because of the stuff we had to use in the military. I didn't like it, but I have finally landed on something I can get behind, and that is gun butter. I did not shoot. I'm. I did not clean my gun at all at nationals. I did not clean it after the match before nationals, nor the match before that. And there's still gun butter oil on my gun. And I'm going to be using their grease on the lugs of my bolt gun. Next, we have Hoist. It is IV level hydration. It's clinically proven to absorb 110% faster than water. You've got all the right ingredients of your electrolytes that you need: magnesium, calcium, sodium, potassium. It's all in there. A little bit of sugar, but that mixes the right amount to make it absorb rapidly so it's not sitting in your belly and weighing you down. So check it out. Get hydrated, stay hydrated. And thanks for checking out our sponsors. It helps with the podcast. Show Jesse Mauro. How are you doing, Jesse?
Good, Dave. How are you?
Good. Why don't you take a second and introduce yourself?
I'm Jessica Mauro. I'm 32 years old. I'm originally from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, and I just recently moved to Mesa. I've been shooting USPSA. January will be 2 years now. Really excited to be here, so thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for being on. Wow, just 2 years, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Like you're unpacking your house, we'll have to unpack all of that.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Are you a Steelers fan?
Um, I I like hockey a little bit more, but if I had to pick a football team, I would say the Steelers. So
Okay. All right.
yeah.
We won't hold it against you. I'm from Dallas, so
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah. So there's a little bit of history there.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. All right. So I usually ask a few icebreakers so we get to know our guest.
Yes.
So we're going to jump right in with those. What's your favorite movie?
Casino. Oh, I love,
Ooh.
yeah. Oh.
I feel like you should be living in Vegas.
Right, right. I don't think I can
Yeah.
his lifestyle.
Okay.
He's very particular in the movie, and he kind of gets focused on, the blueberry muffin scene comes to mind. When he's looking at the other guy's muffin, and he's like, "Why does mine have so many blueberries and yours have none?" So I'm a little OCD and particular, so I really like it.
Mm, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me write that down because that leads right into shooting. OCD does.
Yes, yes.
All right. Favorite book?
So Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, why is that your favorite?
So I had read it in college, and I just thought it was such a wonderful book. I think it's a great book to gift. It's pretty simple practices, but I think it really makes a difference in how you interact with people. And I loved it so much. At the end of the book, they offered a course in it, and I'm like, "Dad, will you please send me to this?" And so he did, and it was, I say it was worth more than my whole college education. Just the skills that you learn in public speaking. So yeah, I really love that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's very interesting. Now, how long was that course?
Um, oh, I want to say it might have only been 2 weeks, I think, but
Okay.
pretty intensive. So long ago.
In person?
Yes, yes, a big
Okay.
group. You have a group of people, so you're practicing those public speaking skills, and
And being critiqued live, yeah.
yeah, yes. So
Okay.
it was a lot of fun.
Now, now you said college. Where did you go to college?
Pitt. Yep. So great.
Okay.
Yep. So
I my time in the Marine Corps, I had a guy in my reconnaissance team that went to Pitt. He was a walk-on the football team. He was
nice.
a linebacker, and he always joked that his biggest moment, they were on national TV. I don't remember if it was Notre Dame or who they were playing. I don't remember now. But he said he basically got decleated on a kickoff. And
Oh,
he said that's his big claim to fame.
oh gosh, I bet that was mortifying at the time. Hopefully, he was still.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So it's a funny story. But what did you get your degree in?
Psychology. So I just.
Oh, that explains one of my other questions coming up. Okay. Leads right into that. All right. If you're into superheroes, who is your favorite superhero, if not historical figure?
So I was never that into superheroes. Um, my brother played a lot of Magic the Gathering as a kid, so there were some comics there, and I would always get the X-Men ones, and I loved Logan, Wolverine. So
Oh,
uh,
okay.
yeah,
That's
thought
been
he was
said a couple of times. So,
has it. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So it seems like you have shot a lot of different types of competition with,
um, yeah.
okay, with all of that in mind, what's your favorite gun? And it doesn't even have to be one that you competed with. It could just be one that, you would buy if you could, and your favorite caliber, but they don't have to be married together. Just because your favorite gun's a Benelli shotgun doesn't mean it has to be a shotgun round.
Okay. Okay. Um. Well, I like 9 miner. I think it's easy to shoot. Gun wise, one's tough. So I've been shooting my Taryn Tactical Sand Viper, and it's so awesome. It's super easy to shoot. It's lightweight, um, and I've had no issues with it at all. Now between that or my Shadow 2, the Shadow 2 is a really great gun. I really beat up on it in the first year. Like cleaning it. I'd show up at a local match, and people were like, "Jessica, you have to have you cleaned this at all?" And I'm like, I put some oil on it. It still runs. Yeah, I like reliability there. So yeah.
If people are only listening to this, they need to go back and watch this moment on YouTube because you can tell she's thinking hard as she starts moving her head side to side and looking up. It's pretty funny. So my fifth question is normally one that is personal to the guest, and yours actually leads right. It's funny. I said you used to do social work. What was it you did? But if you got a degree in psychology, is that what you did?
Yeah, so I was a supports coordinator. So I worked with individuals that had a developmental disability of some sort, an IQ below 70. Uh, the state and county and federal government allocate funds to help support those families, to make things a little bit easier for them. So I would go in and, not to bore you too much, but you'd make an individual support plan, is what we would call it. So everything you would need to know about this individual, a team would get together and put that all in a little packet. They would have staff. I would monitor staff, monitor for health and safety, satisfaction. You used to see a lot of people going into state hospitals, which is really sad. There wasn't the care that was needed there. So they moved over to, person centered services. So then you now see that in group homes in regular neighborhoods, probably maybe even in ones, that you or I live in. And yeah, so I'd go to those houses, I'd go to their day program, and up.
Yeah, I am a paramedic, so I know exactly what houses you're talking about.
Yes,
I
yes.
I actually go to those houses,
Okay, okay.
and and most times you have no idea. Like literally, you'll be driving. We'll get dispatched to a residential address for whatever complaint, and
Right.
get there, and I'm like, I'll look around, and now I've done it enough times. I'll go, I bet this is a group home,
Yep.
and go inside, and sure enough, it is. So very interesting. Okay, so
Yeah.
that doesn't bore me because it's what I also see. So in
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
way, in a way, you could say I do social work.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. It was definitely a rewarding career, but very emotionally taxing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so,
Yeah. Yeah, seeing dead 14-year-olds from overdose on fentanyl is
yeah,
taxing.
that's
Yeah,
terrible.
it is. So what is, well, is the whole mentally taxing part the reason you got out of it?
Yes, I had a caseload where I had a guy that was dual diagnosis, and he didn't really fit on the behavioral health side because he would be taking advantage there, but on the IDD side, he might be taking advantage of others there. And the system, while they're great, wonderful people that are working to make it better, it's still in the works, and it led to a situation where you couldn't really control it, and it was really unfortunate. But I really took that stuff home with me. Like, I saw the people on my caseload, and
Mm.
that I cared about them very much. So when there's things that are out of your control and people being hurt that you can't fix, it got to be a little much for me. I'm a very empathetic person, so
All right, so I'll get a little personal then.
yeah.
Um, what did you do to try to offload some of that stress?
So a ton of hobbies. I'm really big about having hobbies. So I would golf a lot. I'd ride my motorcycle almost daily there. This is back in Pennsylvania.
I'm
Um,
here.
okay, perfect. Yeah, I see that. So I would, like I said, golf a lot, ride my motorcycle, um, hang out with friends. I would read a ton. So yeah, just trying to stay
But
busy.
I don't have a degree in psychology, so I'm not claiming to know everything. But that's not, that's masking.
Okay.
That's not talking. But that's so. I ask because as someone who is similar work, the other another facet of what you do, I understand there you've got to talk with some of this stuff to just get it out, get it off, and then you can move on. Did you have anything like that?
I think that was probably the biggest reason that I didn't stay in that field, because I wasn't very good at that, and it was something that you know I I, I like to be in control of things, and it felt like situations that were really out of my control, and you know um, yeah. So I guess I just didn't do a very good job at that. So
It looks like your right arm is covered in tattoos.
yes, yes. So I have a like 3/4 length sleeve on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
So
it one design or are there many?
yeah, it just roses on that side. So
Okay.
yeah.
Any family tattoos or anything like that, or just the one sleeve?
So that they're all a little bit rooted in something related to something that happened to a family, losing a family member, but just something personal to me that that reminds me of that. The
Yeah.
roses were a poem, um, and then I have another that I have an angel. I was in a car accident in high school. I fractured C7 in my neck and broke my left collarbone, and everyone kept saying, you had your guardian angel. So I wish my mom wouldn't have let me get one, but I did. So I have an angel on my side. Yeah, the older that I get, I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't have any. Uh, you, know, you can express yourself in other ways, and but yeah. So
Is there
the
a cover up in your future?
so I started removing one on my left arm, and it's got like the hypopigmentation, so it's a little bit lighter than the
Mm.
rest of my skin. So I'm kind of like, okay, maybe I'll wait for the lasers to get a little better and then look at, revisiting that. I still feel like I'm young enough now that I'm kind of okay with having them, but the older I get, I'm definitely, there's different outfits that I'd want to wear, and that I just would rather it be kind of simple. I don't hate them, but
You wouldn't make the same decision again.
absolutely not. And the worst thing is when young girls come up and say, oh, I love your tattoos. I'm like, I feel like Billy Madison, and he's like, don't you ever say that, So, you know, so
Okay.
yeah, I tell them not to do it, but
So that was your older sister advice. Don't do it.
right, exactly.
I don't want to say motherly. You're not that old. So, all right. So when did you first shoot a gun?
So it was an ex-boyfriend's house, I think, in, gosh, 2012 maybe. It was terrible. Like, so I shoot it. It's into like this hillside. I shoot it, and everyone's standing behind me. I'm embarrassed to say this, and I turn around and I'm like, "Was that good?" And everyone's like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, "What?" So like, I definitely like flagged everyone, and they're like, "Okay, like we're gonna just put this over here." And um, so yeah, so that was the first time I shot a pistol. So
Did
yeah.
you enjoy it though, or?
It was fun. It was a little bit jumpy. I don't know what it was. It was some polymer, probably a Glock or something. But I wasn't prepared for it at all. It was just kind of handed to me like, here you go. So no direction, and you know probably could have used a little. So yeah, at least the basics. Don't point this anywhere. Should have been common sense, but your adrenaline kind of, oh wow, this little explosion in my hands. That was cool.
Yeah, right. Now, how do you go from flagging everybody your first time ever and being a YouTube star to to today? Like, how did you find what made you decide to shoot a gun again and get into competition?
So I had bought a house at 23, and I thought, well, I live alone. My schedule's pretty predictable. Maybe I should get a gun. And I bought a gun, and it was terrible. It was a Ruger LC9. Um, and, I shot it a handful of times at a target 10 yards away, and then um, I don't remember when. So when my mom and stepdad passed away, they were both big into hunting, and then I ended up buying a rifle. I thought, that might be something nice for me to feel a little bit closer to them. Maybe I'll try and hunt and see how that goes. So I bought a Winchester Model 70 little bolt action um, gun. So that was. Then I thought, well, rifles are kind of fun. So then I bought another rifle, and then it was kind of just like at camp with friends. We would shoot a little bit, nothing too crazy. And then when COVID hit, I was living in, well, I was actually living in Birmingham at the time. I had taken a job there, and I was hanging out a lot though when we got laid off for a little bit in Georgia again, because I had lived there previously. And my friends were all doing this USPSA thing, and I'm like, well, that seems kind of cool. Maybe I'll go check that out. So I went one day, and I went and took some pictures and kind of watched, and I ended up ordering a Shadow 2. And I'm like, I'm gonna do this. So I ordered a Shadow 2, and it came in, and I went to the range. Chris Workman, I'm not sure if you know him. Great guy, one of my very good friends. But went to the range, and he was teaching some ladies in a ladies class, and I just went and hung out for a little bit, and he said, you should come to this competition tomorrow. And I'm like, I don't think I'm ready, Chris. Like, yeah, I shot 30 rounds out of this thing. He said, just show up. And I had ordered a belt, so I had a belt, and I had a gun, but I didn't have mag pouches. I didn't have a holster. So I show up, and they're like, "We'll get you taken care of tomorrow." So I got mag pouches from this one guy. There's this guy Pedro and his daughter, some of my favorite people that I've met in the sport. They're like, "Here's this holster," and I shot, and it was it was so awful. I was like 2%. Like, it looked like I didn't even finish the match. And I'm like, ooh, Jess, like, you need to maybe practice, figure this out a little bit. But so that kind of started the bug. And I was like, I'm going to get really good at this.
And when was that again?
So, I say that January will be my 2 years. Actually, my first match, so I had ordered the gun in August of 2020, and my dad passed away right after I bought it, and I ended up not doing anything with it. It just kind of sat until I got myself situated, and it was a Halloween match. So the targets were like, it was like striped. They had one like kind of like the Hamburglar guy with the striped, but it was like a partial target. So I'm just like, I'm lucky to be shooting if I even hit this target at all. So I shot that, and then my brother passed away unexpectedly a few days after that. So I didn't touch it until January. So I consider that, my when I really got into it. And from then it was like, every weekend, every single weekend for probably a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I just fell in love, and I was so bad.
That, it seems to be people go one way or the other. They either love it or you never see them again.
Yeah. Yeah. I think as a woman, this is just my personal opinion. I think that there's not as much expectation. I kind of feel like, and maybe no one was thinking this, but in my mind, I'm like, they probably don't expect me to do very well to begin with anyway. So how much worse could it get? And it can't get any worse than the 2% Halloween match. So like, I've already got last place. So it can only go up from here. So, you know,
Okay, so how, because you are new and you are a female shooter, how has your experience been as a female shooter in the sport?
I, it's been awesome. I think that men and women alike are super supportive. Um, I was lucky enough. My home range was East Alabama Gun Club, and being a new shooter and not knowing any better, there's a lot of really great guys out of there, like Chris Workman. Aaron Eddins is at AIU, Jacob Hetherington, John Browning. So Dex Bradley. So all these guys that were like really high level shooters, I got a lot of direction and coaching from them, and didn't really realize, like, these guys are really good. Even the local guys, there's a lot of really incredible, fantastic shooters there. There were a couple women, not so many, but growing up with a brother and a stepbrother, I feel like I was kind of always comfortable, more of a tomboy in those situations. So um, I think from the ladies' side, though, I started looking when I figured out how to use practice score. I started looking to see, okay, like, who are these ladies that are shooting well? And I found Kaylee Lane, and I'm like, okay, let me find her Instagram. And I messaged her, and she was so awesome. Like, she's become like one of my best friends in the sport, and I absolutely love her. She's great. I
She,
don't know.
oh, I just have to interject for a minute.
Yes,
It's
yes.
on her end, it's a little bit of cheating because her and Mason work together with each other. So I feel like those two are cheating a little bit. In a good way. I've had
Right.
Mason on, so that's not busting his chops.
Mason's great too. I think, regardless of Mason, I think Kaylee would still be a fantastic shooter. I think she's super motivated. She's really a true competitor. And, I have a lot of respect for her. And, glad to call her my friend. So, yeah, but Mason's great too. He's a really good guy, great couple. So,
Yeah, it seems like it. I don't know
yeah.
them as a couple, but yeah,
Yeah.
they definitely they're they're a good match. We'll say
Yeah.
that. So I hope they both do well at Worlds. So
Yes. Yes. Me too. But yeah, so I mean, there's been a lot of, and then when you're friendly and you go and you talk to people, everyone's really willing to help you. And I felt nothing but support in every direction. So thankful for that.
all right, all right. So you said being friendly. Does your psychology degree ever kick in when you're talking to people?
In what way? Like, like,
Uh, like stranger danger, or all right, this person's legit. They're you know what I mean?
So, I guess for like shooting advice, maybe I shouldn't say this, but again, when I figured out what practice score was, you get, I'd post something on an Instagram story or something. Social media was huge for me. Okay, who's winning these things or who's shooting well? Okay, let me go watch their videos and how do I replicate that, or at least try to.
Right.
Uh, so not that I don't. I think everyone has something positive to say and can be helpful. And I tend to take the route of I like to hear all different people's advice. So even if I'm asking 10 people the same question, maybe one of them it clicks with me, and then I have some friends
Yes.
that are like, yes, I've been telling you this for 3 months. And I'm like, well, I didn't get it. Um, so yeah, I try and take something away from, anyone that I talk to. I think that I keep saying, these accomplished high level shooters, but that's not the only place that I think you can get advice, right? Because there's some things that some people can articulate better, but maybe they don't execute it as well, but they can explain it well. So I try and be open to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've used that same analogy where Tiger Woods, I can't think of his coach right now. I had written it down when I was going to use it at the time, but his coach wasn't a world beater, but he had Tiger Woods swing on point because he knew what he needed to do, and together they worked great.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
So
I don't know if did you hear the sound bite that I posted with Morgan with JJ?
I don't think I did.
Okay. Well, it's just a quick sound bite of us calling JJ old.
Oh, I heard that in the podcast. Morgan's so
Okay.
fun. He's so sweet. Yeah, yeah.
Well, and it's funny because I bring that up because she's like, she doesn't normally prefer to take classes with older guys because they don't relate to younger girls very well.
Right, right, right.
So I totally get where, not everybody can articulate it and relate it to somebody else. So,
Yeah, and on that note about not just older guys, sometimes men. I think it's important to have women friendships and mentors in the sport because there's different things that you deal with. I think just as a woman and um, that can be intimidating at times, and so I think it's helpful to have that support there. And like I said, all the ladies are just as awesome as the guys. So
all right, so let's jump right into that because the I've mentioned I forget which podcast now who I was talking to, but the dynamic between the ladies super squad and the men super squad is 180 degrees opposite.
yeah, yeah, the lady super squad. I mean, it's so much fun. It's like we all are coming from male dominated clubs and used to shooting with a bunch of males. So it's really fun to get the ladies out there, and attitudes are great. The reset's great. Just really having a good time. It's super empowering. It's motivating to watch another woman do something and be like, well, if she can do it, I can do it, right? So yeah, that's been really awesome. I've been blessed enough to get to shoot on the super squad with the ladies at nationals. So that's been really really great. A lot of good women.
Yeah, I mean, I specifically put myself on a squad this year at Carry Optics Nationals so that I could watch the super squads. And I forget which female singer it was that recorded the song Party in the USA, but I swear that is the lady super squad. But
Yes.
it doesn't affect any of your ability to shoot. Like it didn't matter how much of a good time and joking around you guys were having when it came time to shoot. It seemed like you were all on, ready to go. And then as soon as, show clear, boop, 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 it's back to part. I'm like, how are they doing this?
Yeah, yeah. It's very supportive, and I think that one thing I've noticed with the women is if you're in this sport and you're competing at that level, I think you're a true competitor, right? So, and I think that there's a very healthy attitude towards it. I think it's, don't get me wrong, we want to all beat each other. There's no doubt about that. But but you're still happy to see someone do well, and I think there's like a very honest, okay, well this person did it better than I did it. Okay, I'm going to get there, but I'm still happy for them. And um, for me at least, I try and uh, the sports psychologist that I talk to calls it shooting on yourself. um, you know, I should be doing this better. I should be doing that. So I try and have a good attitude. When I see someone do something better, I'm like, okay, well, how can I replicate that? How do I, I'll take that back to practice. Maybe I'll ask them to send me their videos. And it seems like a lot of the women, like I said, are just true competitors. There's nothing personal. It's just, we're all competing. Right. So the guys,
And
yeah,
I think on the guy side, our egos allow us to take some things personally, where, so, I will say this. I mean, if I shot 2% in my first match, I would have been so embarrassed that I don't know that my next match would have been at that same range.
exactly. And I think that's something that women, we don't have to deal with as much. Like I said, because at least for me, I'm like, no one's expecting me to come out here and burn this stage down. So let me show them. Um, so that's been, I think, an advantage in a way for that.
I would agree. I mean, yeah. And I don't know that anybody expects any of us either, but I think we put the pressure on ourselves.
Absolutely. Even like I said, I have a motorcycle, and even when I bought my first motorcycle, I saw the guys pressuring them one another into larger bikes, and I started out on like a little Ninja 300, and I was like, geez, if I was a guy, I'd probably be on something that I wasn't ready for. So I think that it just always kind of reminded me of that. So yeah, my heart goes out
Yeah.
to you guys.
Yeah. Hence why, trauma isn't the leading cause of death for men 18 to 45
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're dumb. Yeah.
I
Pretty much.
didn't say. You said.
No, you didn't. I did. I've seen that. I've been on that call where the guy is riding a drag motorcycle
Mhm.
and can't take the turn and ends up
Yeah.
that was it. That was the last of him. Now can you see that?
Yes.
That's a
Yes.
crazy map.
It is crazy. Yeah. Yeah. That's funny.
So I basically took the states you've lived in and just kind of put it in a
Yeah.
map there. And it looks like you went from Pennsylvania to Texas,
Yes.
Texas to Alabama,
Yes.
Alabama to Georgia,
Yep.
Georgia all the way across the United States to California,
Yes.
and now Arizona.
That's right.
All right, so
And
what state's next?
I think that I be home. I think that I finally, I lived in each state. California a little bit shorter, but I lived in each state long enough, I think, to make some good friends there and kind of really integrate into the community and see like, hey, what's this all about? And see, do I like this or do I not? And so far, Arizona has been awesome. I love it. So I
Oh,
think,
okay.
yeah, yeah. So when the
All
the
right.
housing a little bit, I'll probably buy a house here. So
All right. Looks like
yeah,
you're ready to settle down in a state.
yes, we'll see. I say that now, but who knows? If something feels interesting or piques, my interest, then maybe I'll head out. But I think I'll be here for a long time.
I was looking over some of the stuff you had posted on social media. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to read off a list.
Okay.
Major matches in which you competed in 2022: Carry Optics Nats, IDPA Nationals, Race Gun Nationals Shooting Open, PCC Nats, Two Gun Nationals. Then I have Area 2, Area 6, Alabama Sectional, Florida Sectional, North Carolina Sectional, South Carolina Sectional, Tennessee Sectional,
Yes.
and maybe a PCSL match.
Yes. Yes. That sounds
Wow.
about right. Did we say Tennessee too? I think. Yeah,
I
Tennessee.
did. Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, because that was a back-to-back with North Carolina. Yeah. So, and I was signed up for a few more, but when I moved to California, I was signed up for Dragons Cup, and it was like I would have literally been pulling up in a U-Haul, and it was, it was a multi-day trip across the state. So I decided to skip that. And Colorado, there were a couple I skipped out on, but yeah. So it was a lot.
How in the world do you shoot all of that in a year?
Um, so I think I just caught the bug, right? And I was like, well, where do you go, and where do you really see where you're at? But admittedly, towards the end of the year, I think I was just trying to. There was a lot going on personally that I'm like, okay, I'm just pushing through. I'm ready for the season to kind of be over to get situated and get back to practicing. I was warned by everyone, you'll get burnout and this and that, and it was a good experience. It was a lot of fun. I learned a tremendous amount. Uh, it's a lot of money to go and not, to just kind of shoot and say, okay, well, wherever I end up, I end up. So this next year, I'm going to be a lot more intentional about that. The focus is really going to be on practice, and then, showing up to, yeah.
So, what do you think you learned the most from all of those matches this year?
So, well, I think the biggest match that I learned something from was actually my first nationals. I The PCC ladies on the Super Squad decided that they wanted to shoot on the PCC Super Squad. So there were a couple spots on the Lady Super Squad, and I had shot pretty well at Georgia State and was invited to shoot on it. And now I had mentioned before the sports psychologist, right? So even at my local matches, I had went ahead and I think you actually had her on here, Megan Sullivan.
Yes.
Absolutely outstanding, and it has helped me so much. But I was so anxious and so nervous, like everyone's watching me, and like that was so stupid. How did you do that? Just really in my head. Um, so when I got to nationals, I'd been shooting 9 months, so I get to nationals, and I'm like, oh, there's people with cameras. You have John from Shooting USA, and I'm like, there's like a crowd of people, and I'm like, oh gosh, like this is terrible. What's going on? And I had been shooting okay, and then when the cameras got on, it was like, it was the steel. It was like partial steel, partial steel, partial steel, and I'm like, okay, that went pretty well, but it was like right into the no shoot. Didn't even call it, um, and just that attention on you when you're already like, I'm kind of an anxious, a little bit neurotic person, so that stuff would get in my head. And I was like, gosh, like, and I zeroed the strong hand weak hand stage. So I'm like, you guys want me to do this? I can barely do it with two hands. You want me to do this with one and my weak hand? Like, you're crazy. So I zeroed that stage, and it was kind of like, it was pretty emotional for me. Like, I definitely maybe might have cried after the night. I was like, wanted to do well so bad. But for me, that was probably the biggest thing that I learned. I'm like, nothing could be worse than zeroing a stage in front of all of these people. Like, no local match is ever, never going to sweat it again. So that was huge. Yeah. So it's probably my biggest lesson, biggest takeaway.
Have you seen that picture?
Let's see here. Oh no, I hadn't.
Ah.
When is that? That's
So,
from.
that's Carry Optics Nationals. You.
Yeah. Yeah. All the pro grip.
Yeah. So we had a competitor on our squad at Carry Optics Nationals whose wife is a photographer.
What is her name? I feel like I might know who.
Chelsea Denon.
Okay, maybe I'm not. Okay. There's another woman that will take the photographs that I always see. Yeah, that's cool. I didn't see that. No, that's awesome.
That's not the only one.
Oh, cool.
How about that one?
Okay, yeah, no, I haven't seen any of these. These are awesome.
Oh, that's Nil. Sorry, that's not you. Speaking of which, all right, hold on, because I blew right past it. How tall are you?
I am 5'9 3/4", so almost 5'10".
Okay, well,
Tall.
you seem taller than that in real life. Because
Yeah,
I
and
was
I'm good.
thinking you were about 5'11", almost 6 foot.
Yeah, no, almost 5'10". I'm
It
just
must just be the
long,
company you keep on the Ladies Super Squad makes you look that much taller.
right? Yeah, yeah. There's not a whole lot of very tall ladies. Yeah, I don't really think.
I think Kaylee's probably the closest one to your height.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think there's anyone else that.
And
Yeah,
she needs to have some height because of the giant she's married to.
right, right. Yeah, Mason's pretty tall.
Oh man, that guy is tall.
Yeah.
So I will send these to you, but because she sent all of them that she took to us.
That's so
So
awesome. I like that.
it,
That's cool.
yeah. So like I even have women's super squad pictures that she had taken. So I'll forward these to you and her email address because I don't know what else she may have, or if
Awesome.
you ever want to just say, hey, are you okay with me using this in X, Y, and Z? Then you can get that. But yeah,
Thank you.
awesome pictures she took.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that.
Yeah, some good ones. Now, what did happen at the other two nationals?
Ugh, I DQ'd at both of them.
It
So,
happens, but
mentally, I knew that I was already moving to Arizona, um, and leaving California. And so I'm like, okay, let me just get through these nationals. I didn't really have a whole lot of time behind the PCC. I think I had shot it, a handful of times and maybe one match with PCC before two gun nationals. Um, I might have shot the gun once at the range and then was like, well, I'll just go. It'll be fun. Hopefully, what I've learned with pistol, I can, help me stay afloat a bit. Just be careful and not get DQ'd. So I didn't get DQ'd at two gun net. So there's that. But Open Nationals, it was day one, last day, and trying to think. Everything that could have gone wrong up to that point was going wrong. I was having some issues with the open gun that I had, and I was very blessed and super thankful for Taryn. He overnighted me the Sand Viper so I would have something to shoot at open. Um, and I had shot that before. I had borrowed some friends, so I was comfortable with the gun. But it's the airport. It's like my luggage was late, so it didn't come in. They lost not lost. They left my gun bag, so I had to go back to the airport. Didn't get into Talladega until super late. So I'm like, okay, just survive the day one, and we get to the last stage, and I should have known that I wasn't going to clear the wall because there was a partial. It was that Glock. I think it was the Glock stage up top. It was the C section, the very first stage there, I think.
okay.
And you know, you had to go. It was like the wall came way back in the back that you had to go out of the fault lines and run around, and then in the front there was it was kind of like a T, and I'm shooting the array in the front, and then there was a partial target that I was kind of fishing for. And in my walkthrough, I didn't need to fish for it. And when I turned around, I went and I feel myself start to fall. And, the first thought is, well, don't break 180, don't flag yourself. So I have the gun here. And I kind of put this arm back because I felt myself falling forward. And I didn't know why I was falling. And all of a sudden, I just feel this huge jerk and it rips me. It was my holster had caught the wall. And it was just like, it just ripped me around. And, I get to the end, I'm like still kind of running, and they're like, stop. And I'm like, I just apologize to everyone. Yeah, so that was not a good feeling. And so that was open nats. But I got really good at taking videos and reset the rest of the match. So then I stayed in Talladega. Fast forward, it's PCC. I'm like, okay, there's a little bit less pressure here. I have no expectation. This is like the fifth time I've shot this gun. Just and everyone's kind of making the DQ jokes. Just don't DQ, don't DQ. So I think it was day 2. We get to day 2. Oh, this is so embarrassing. And I'm like really embarrassed of this, but we get to day 2 and I've been trying to be intentional on my last target that I want to have 2 alphas on my last target because Aaron Eddins will always say, you have all the time in the world. It's the last target, but I stopped on the swing on this stage, and in my head, I'm like, my walkthrough, I wasn't supposed to be stopped on this swinger, thinking about, because sometimes I'll unload too fast and then you have to reload and engage another target or something. So I've been trying to stay focused on that. And I realized, I dropped the mag, and then I realized, oh no, you're going to have an FTSA. You need to engage this target. So I reload it. I engage the target, just unload and show clear. And when I go to pull the mag, I don't hit the mag release. I hit the trigger. So my heart just sinks, and I'm like, oh gosh, like I was kind of a mess at that point. It was like just came off open nats and DQ'd, and now I'm like, I've done this thing that I know accidents happen, and then that's why we have the safety rules. But I'm like, oh, no one's gonna trust me with a gun, and no one's gonna want to shoot with me, and this is terrible. And how am I gonna recover from this? And I'm like, I like teared up, and I'm like, okay, like I just need a second. And I saw like Jayleese and Justine in the parking lot, and they gave me a hug, and they're super sweet. They like text Linda, and I'm like, man, like this is terrible, And she's like, you're going through some stuff. Your head's not there. Just like, we'll figure it out, and we'll address it, and like it'll be okay. So like the support of friends and other shooters was really helpful. But yeah, it was not a good feeling. Yeah. So nationals, it was not my best, and you learn. I've definitely I think maybe I was too lackadaisical with, oh, I'll just be slower with manipulations with this gun. You really want to be sure that the, like I have pretty big hands, but the way the mag release is and where the trigger well is, when I look at it now, I'm like, well, that's easy to slip in there. But I think it was more of a mental thing, I guess.
I get that. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
have, I didn't shoot my best at Carry Optics Nationals. I haven't done a whole lot of training or other stuff with my schedule the way it's been this year, but it took me, after day 1, I had to sit down and go, what is going on with my shooting? And I was like, oh, well, I'm only here shooting 50% of, the shooting's only 50% of why I'm here. The other 50% is the podcast. So I'm
Right.
not 100% focused on shooting. So, okay, I'm going to have to deal with whatever, wherever I end up.
Right. Right. And yeah, I think that's something that became very apparent. I knew I loved the people in the sport, but I apologize for what I did for both DQs, and apologize to the squad, apologize to the ROs, and then I stayed to help pace, and I get to still hang out and watch everyone, and that became really clear to me that I love this sport because I'm passionate about shooting, but I also the people are cool, and it's still a good time to go out there and be surrounded by good people, supportive people. So, it's still a good experience.
I think that shows a lot of character because I don't know if I would have hung around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I think that's awesome that you did and still hung out. So I think that's great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And
Because
look, I've DQ'd twice myself. Once at a local. It was one of those where you had to retreat,
Mhm.
and I had the gun up, and I'm going back, but I was like, oh, let me reload before I get all the way back. And apparently, when I went to reload, I moved the gun just enough to break the 180, and then not this year, but a year ago, 2021, I was shooting Area 8. And there was one stage where I found a way to shoot the stage from 3 spots. So I shot, well, on the go, I shot 6 different targets. And the first and the sixth were like 10 degrees off of 180. So on that sixth target, the next one I had to move up and to my left. And when I did, the RO said, you left before your gun moved. So then the gun ended up
Ugh,
lagging and breaking the 180 that way,
ugh,
so yeah, it sucks, but I get it. Things happen.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the takeaway is like, I've always told myself I won't push beyond, you want to push, you want to try, you want to be aggressive, but
Hmm.
I try not to push myself beyond my ability, right? Like in practice, and I'm still safe, obviously, in practice, but it's kind of a different game when you're at a match because there's other people, and there's other people's safety that you have to take into account, and just being really mindful and purposeful. And I'm like, oh, it might take me a little bit extra time to do this, but I'm gonna hold off. And like you said, I think seeing other people's DQs or hearing other people talk about it helps you as a shooter too, because it makes you aware. Like, do you remember when that guy had fallen at Area 5
Yes.
and he had shot across the bay? And there's some backlash, and I don't want to get too far into that, but I was like, well, what do you mean, guys? Nobody ever told me how to fall. I never even thought about what do I do if I fall? And I don't, if I'm being honest, I don't know. I'd like to think I would do everything right, but I had never thought about it. So, um,
it
yeah,
it is definitely a fear of mine because I've thought about this when it happened, and I read everything, and that's scary because I would have never considered that somebody would fall in such a manner or could fall in such a manner that you would end up discharging your pistol and it impacting in the bay behind you. That's a scary thought, but
right.
I think my natural reaction is to grab the gun and create like that fist. So I'm always scared that my finger is going to come off the slide and into the trigger guard all the time anyway. So I think what I
Right.
have hopefully formulated in my head is I'm just going to bring my finger all the way down if I'm falling and create my Nils Jonassen approved Canic rival. If I'm falling, then I'm going to try to just bring my finger all the way down under the trigger guard and
Yeah.
fall, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping to do. But at the same time, what if I don't? It's still going to hit the trigger. So I'm nervous for myself if I fall like that. Like, where's my finger going to go? Because I know it's going to want to grab.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's the scary part. I'm like, I think, well, Brennan Conaway had also fallen at that match. But he's like, nope, you take the cement or the ground right to the face if you have to. Like whatever you got to do, Jess. Like you make sure that gun is a little baby, and you
Right.
don't drop. You know. So, but I mean that's part of the sport. And just yeah.
2021 Nationals. Um, so if you remember stage 12,
Ugh. Um.
so this year that stage 12 is that last stage before you go uphill to the third section.
Okay. So down on
So
the
y-
on
yeah,
2020.
so no, well, hold on. So
Okay.
2021 that's okay. I kind of ran everything together there. But that was my last stage in 2021 was that stage.
Okay.
And we had a guy on our squad. We had Luigi Lee, who I love shooting with. That guy's hysterical,
Yeah.
and a good shooter.
Yeah.
So, but we also had a Canadian on our squad who was a master class, and he was very good. And wouldn't you know it, we show up to our last stage of carry optics, and one of the ROs is like, "Oh, you guys still have a full squad? Nobody's DQ'd?" And I was like, my eyes got this big. I'm like, I've DQ'd twice in my career. I am not saying a word here. I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Right.
And somebody said something. I think it was the Canadian shooter. And
Yeah.
wouldn't you know it, he was transitioning from one side to the other and fired around into the ground about a foot in front of his right foot. And I was like, so obviously it was an immediate disqualification. But at the same time, I would shoot with that guy because I don't think he's unsafe. He's a very good shooter, but I don't know. I don't know the guy, so we didn't talk. I'm sure there was something happened, and he probably knows what it was, and I'm sure he feels this big for it. But I don't
Yeah.
look at the guy any differently just because that happened.
Right, right. And I mean, after mine, it's like the amount of people that come up and then they tell you, hey, I did the same thing. I ND'd or I did this, and uh, the amount of people that will come up and tell you about their stories. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, okay, this is an accomplished shooter who I respect very much. Like, they're well respected, they're safe. Things happen. Like, really good shooters, sometimes it happens to everyone. I think it's how you walk away from it. And, do you put a plan to mitigate those kind of things in the future?
Mm-hmm.
What's your attitude like about it? Even, I was talking to Becky Ackley. I love her. I love everyone, but she's just been like super
She
supportive.
for everybody that wasn't there to watch the Women's Super Squad, she was the mom of the Ladies Super Squad.
She's incredible. And I'm like, Becky, like I did this and I like kind of everything that I said, like I'm like, no one's gonna trust me to shoot. And she's like, that's why we have the multiple rules of safety in place, and just come back better from it. So yeah, but I do think it's something that I don't want to laugh off or not. I'll even hear people say AD, accidental discharge, and I'm like, no, negligent. That was negligent on my part. There was something that I wasn't doing that this happened, and that's on me, and I need to take responsibility for it. I'm thankful that everyone was really understanding and cool about it, but I take that really seriously. So hopefully people feel the same way about me. They know that I care, and that's something that um, we won't see in the future. So
Yeah, and I think that's like you said. I mean, it comes down to, did you learn from it, and what are you
right,
doing next time to not do it? Like now I know when I'm retreating, I wait till I start to turn before I'll pull the mag out and have it in my hand, but I
exactly,
won't insert it until I'm turning and I know that I'm not going to break the 180.
exactly, exactly.
So,
Yeah,
yeah. So do you have an ammo sponsor?
I don't.
Oh my
So
God, you need to get one with as much
I
as you
know,
shoot.
I know. That's like that. That would be the one. I'm terrible with the sponsorship stuff though, because the social media part is like probably my least favorite part about it. It's kind of become my
Mm.
journal. But I'm not like, hey, this is this. It's just like, hey, yeah, this is what I use. I like it. I don't have any issues, and my focus is really more on just improving as a shooter. So eventually, I'll look for that kind of stuff. But right now, I'm like, but
Well,
ammo.
hopefully somebody approaches you. So you said Taryn overnighted the Sand Viper. Are you a
Yeah.
sponsored shooter?
So yes, Taryn has helped me out quite a bit. I, a wonderful person and man, and very generous. I'm lucky, very blessed to be able to call him a friend, and he's helped me out quite a bit. So now I'm running the Sand Viper. And I love shooting. It's open minor, but I love shooting it so much. It's such a pleasure and so enjoyable to shoot. And I'm like, yeah, I'll shoot minor in open. And like I should be getting alphas anyways. So that, and then the TR9 for PCC. So I'm gonna ease a little bit more into more multi-gun, but right now it's mostly pistol. But yeah, so Taryn has helped me out a lot with that.
Okay, well that's awesome. So
Yeah.
did you get an opportunity to go out to his place when you were in California?
Yes, yes. It was super cool. Taryn was awesome. I think I shot 1,000 rounds. He like let me go to the range by myself and just go ham. So I thought that was really, really cool that he did that and allowed, let me do that and shared his range with me. So
That is
he was,
awesome.
yeah, really cool.
So what is it now? I've seen the Sand Viper's new.
Yes.
So what is it that makes it special?
Well, so I started in carry optics, right? So the Shadow 2, I don't even know what's the weight on the double action. The trigger, first of all, is a huge difference, right? Double action to this open trigger that's little over a pound or 2 pounds.
Right.
So that's super nice. The balance, it's just balanced very nice. I don't want to know a whole lot, but I know I'm like, this either feels good or it doesn't. So the balance is great. It's just like a well-oiled machine. It's just everything's so smooth and slick about the way it cycles, and I don't have any malfunctions, and it's the weight too. I think is a big thing.
Is it steel frame?
No, so it's
Poly?
the yeah,
Polymer?
yep. So
Okay.
yeah, so I was I honestly I wasn't expecting to love it so much because I'm coming from the shadow too. I put the lock brass, aggressive brass, I think they're like 9 ounces. So I'm used to this
Wow.
heavy gun. So that was different, but I love it. Yeah,
I mean, it looks great, but I've never seen one in person, but it looks nice.
oh, well, if anyone sees me out, and I'm happy to let you shoot it if you want to run it on a stage, or we can share it for a match, or if you just want to shoot a couple rounds, I'm definitely happy to let anyone try that. So
As a matter of fact, didn't you just let someone shoot it like last weekend or something in a match?
yeah, that's so there was a guy yesterday that he kept having malfunctions with his gun, and he shot it on a stage, and then yeah, it where else was I
That
at?
that made it to social media
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
because apparently it's someone that I follow with the
Yeah,
podcast, and he posted it, and someone was like, "Is that?" I forget exactly. They said Jessica or Jess or Jesse or what. Is that
yeah.
her Sand Viper? And he said, "Yep." I was
You
like,
know,
"Oh."
was this after PCC nuts? It might have been Jack, I think, or someone. Someone their gun wasn't working, and they ran it for the rest of the match. So
It was literally, I want to say I just saw it in the last couple of days.
okay, so it was probably at PCC Nationals. We shot was it an indoor match? Maybe.
I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, anytime. I think that's like important. People have been so awesome to me. I always say you could probably show up to a match, USPSA match, with nothing, and people are going to give you enough stuff as a group to get you shooting. So yeah, I always try and share. If I'd want someone to do it for me, right? You're out there, you wanna shoot, you wanna practice. Cool to try new things. So yeah.
Yeah, I've said on here before where my son and I drove 2 hours for a match, and we got there and we had our guns, we had ammo, we had everything except our belts with our holsters.
No, that's the
So we're
worst.
like, so I'm like, hey, sorry, but we can't shoot. We got to go. And they're like, no, wait, wait, wait. I've got belts, I've got guns and mags. I'm like, well, there's two of, and I was feeling bad, like borrowing somebody's gear. I was like, I feel terrible. And they're like, and
Oh,
they were the owners of the range. And they were like,
yeah,
no, no, just stay here. You got the ammo. So
yeah,
sure enough, it took me 7 stages to get used to that Glock. But on the 8th stage, man, I shot great.
yeah. There you go. Oh,
So yeah,
that's
I mean, that just, carries over what you're saying that, man, people will help you out all the time in this sport. So
absolutely. And I like never want someone, something as silly as that you forget something. I've gone to the range and set up a whole practice, spent an hour and a half getting all my barrels and walls, and then said, I don't have any mags. you know so it's nice that people will step up and share where they can.
shout out to my wife. I went to a match an hour away, forgot my ammo, and I was like, well, I can't shoot. I texted her, I was like, I'll probably be coming back. I forgot my ammo, and she's like, I'll bring it.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, she's done it twice. The good thing was the other one's only 20 minutes from here, so that's no big deal. But an hour away, so that's a 2 hour turnaround. Yes.
Oh,
Thank
that's
God.
you got to keep
Great
her there.
wife.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, I do. God bless her.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Now, have you shot any rifle stuff or other than just two gun?
So I did a Wolverine Wednesday, I think, in Vegas. It was a Galil um, that I shot, and that was pretty fun. And then I shot a PCSL match with, I think it was TR1. I didn't even know. Yeah, I'm not so much into the rifles as much. So I've done a little bit there, and then 2-gun nats, but not really too much. But
Okay.
I think I'll get into it eventually. But my big focus this year is going to be a lot. Just
Okay. So PCC rifle is basically what you've shot.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
Any desire to shoot rifle?
Um. So, like I said, I think I'll get more into multi-gun a little bit, but or maybe even PRS. I got to hang out with some of the guys at Accuracy International and shoot one of their rifles. That was pretty fun, but it's an expensive hobby. I've got
Very.
yeah, I got 2 Eddie Garcia guns on the way, so for open, so I'm like kind of invested in that, and yeah, I think it'll be a little bit longer for rifle for me, but eventually.
Yeah, my dream rifle is an Accuracy International, but it's 20 grand.
20 grand.
I need to hit the lottery is what I
Yeah,
need to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a lot. It's definitely an investment, and I think I'm not committed enough to, let's say PRS or something like that at this time to justify it to myself. So
Well, I've been in lust with Accuracy International rifles for 30 years now because when I was an instructor at Quantico, Malcolm Cooper, the guy who built those guns and started Accuracy International,
okay.
visited us. So I was able to shoot those guns then. And at that time, I said, this gun is better than anything we're having hand built. You know,
Right.
we basically had custom rifles being built for the Marine snipers. And I was like, this gun beats those hands down, and they're doing it in a factory. Those things are absolutely amazing.
It is crazy how much, I know people say that, you look at Nils, he's winning with a Canic, like not that that's not a good gun. I've never shot one, but, but I think it definitely makes it a little easier to shoot sometimes, depending on the platform. Um, so yeah, I could see how you could kind of want that after you try it. I've had a couple people. I was trying to get one of the guys' wives. She shot here or there. We were at a birthday party the other day, and I'm like, just come out, like you can shoot one of my guns. And he's like, don't you dare let her shoot that Sand Viper because then she's gonna want it, and this is what she's gonna shoot. So yeah, I feel that.
Little did you know you just became a Terran tactical salesperson.
Yeah, it's easy to I'm just honest, right? I really
Yeah.
enjoy.
All right. So you have shot at a lot of different, way more pistol ranges than I've ever shot at. I've shot at a lot of rifle ranges, but not pistol ranges.
Okay.
So Yi Min calls you up tomorrow. Says, Jesse, we're kind of stumped. Where do you suggest we hold 2024 nationals? What's your answer?
That's tough.
I
Yeah.
love the stuff you do every time you're thinking hard. You're like,
Well, so the cameo in Colorado is just absolutely breathtaking. The views are great, and there's Walt is in charge of some stuff there. Great guy. The bays are awesome. They're nice big bays. Um, the weather's nice, but I don't know that with mag capacity, all that kind of nonsense. I don't know that that's possible, but I really like. And I shot in the PCSL match in St. George at the Cobalt range, and I mean that's probably my favorite range in terms of like it's the natural terrain. It's really beautiful. Again, just breathtaking views. But I would probably still say Talladega. I think it's a nice. It's got nice size bays. A good mix, and maybe I'm just comfortable with it because that's where nationals have been since I started. That's the only place I shot it. Um,
okay.
Yeah. How about you? I'm curious to hear what you think.
Now, I'll get there in just a second. I will answer your question. Now, Florida State, that was not at,
We're
oh,
just
shoot, Universal Shooting Academy in Frostproof, correct? that was somewhere else?
Florida State was it at Wyoming Antelope Club? Or no,
Yes, I think that's where it was.
there was Florida State, Florida Open, and then another one.
Did
Florida
did you
Open.
shoot? Florida Open is at Universal, so
Yeah,
Frostproof. Have you shot there?
yes, I shot that.
Okay, because I've
Um,
shot nationals there and Talladega. Those are the only two places I've shot.
okay,
But I would not do it at CMP for two reasons. One, I think they need more bays. And
okay,
two, food in actual Talladega is, I mean, if you're an Ethiopian, you're going to starve in Talladega. You're like
yeah,
you're back home in Ethiopia. You have
yes,
to be in Oxford to find any place to eat after like 6 p.m. So for me, that doesn't work. Now, when I had June Kim on here,
June.
the big thing I talked about thought was I feel Vegas for Carry Optics Nationals is the place to be.
Interesting. What range?
And front sight, I believe, is the one. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Um, I'm trying to remember now which one June and I talked about. But when you talk about logistics for people coming in, you have a major
Oh,
airport. You have more accommodations than anybody could, swing a bat at.
yeah.
You've got a range. They've held it there before. And then this is what I said. You do it in January. I was there for SHOT Show last year. It was 60 degrees during the day. So it gets plenty warm.
Yeah.
Lots of sunshine. And then you do it the weekend leading up to SHOT Show. You have every major manufacturer and ammo manufacturer, rifle, pistol, every
Interesting.
accessory, everybody there. And you get the National Shooting Sports Foundation to kind of help you out a little bit, planning all of that. And now you've added 4 or 5 days to SHOT Show because a lot of those places would be like, yeah, we'd love to kind of help out and get our name out even more, and to make it a huge media event.
Right. Yeah, I never thought about that. With the travel thing is definitely a big thing too. The cheap flights in and out of Vegas and hotel accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the only thing that I would think about putting it so close to SHOT Show is I could see some people maybe having a hard time getting off work, that if they wanted to do both, because I heard people complain about some of the nationals being, so close. They're like, well, I can't take off another, I was just here for this, so I'm not shooting the next one because it's too close and I can't take off 2 weeks from work. But I like the idea of Vegas. Yeah. Or even area 2, Rio. Have you shot at Rio Salado? Oh,
Mm-mm.
the range is really great there too. So there's a lot of space, a lot of bays. So,
That's another one of those you would have to do at the end of the year, and you wouldn't want it around the holidays. So I feel like November, because they do theirs, what, the first or second weekend of November?
I think it was the second this year, maybe. I think last year I want to say it was earlier.
I like the idea of an end of the year. Look, Carry Optics is by far the biggest division.
Yeah,
It's getting mammoth in size.
yeah,
So you make that your big end of year event. You can't do it in November and December, too many holidays and stuff. But
right.
you would have every single area match completely done. And then
Yeah,
if you did it in January, it'd be like, all right, you've got 60, 65 days to prep
yeah,
for Carry Optics Nationals. If you did the same thing every year just for that one Nationals, then everybody could, for work purposes, plan for
yeah,
it every year.
right.
So,
Yeah, that
like
would be nice.
June is terrible.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said it. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's terrible.
Hot.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not just hot, but
The
several guests. Like, what major matches are you gonna shoot? Like Michaela Hill, I talked to her.
She's
You're
great.
in Washington. You have what? We came up with maybe 2 major matches she can shoot before to get prepped. But you have the same problem everywhere else. 1 or 2 major matches, and that's it. So it's way too early in the season for something that big to be competed at that level.
Right. Right. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, maybe that's something that they'll look at and has it
Oh no,
historically
they better.
has it historically been the same, the same months? I like I said, I'm so new. It's only been 2 nationals for me. So
Well, I've only been doing it for 4 years, but the 4 years that I've seen it, and I mean, Carry Optics has only been around for like 2 or 3 more years beyond that.
okay.
It's always been in that September, October time frame.
Okay.
So I think that's a good time of year. I would still rather it be after Area 2 because I feel like the season's not over until all of the area matches are done and nationals. So to have to wait another month for Area 2 to finish, then it's
Right.
kind of like the season's still hanging. And then I kind of feel like it's anticlimactic. Like if you look, I went and looked at the results, there weren't that many high level shooters there. And when I mean high level, I mean like national champion level shooters. Even
At
Nils wasn't there.
2.
Yeah, at 2.
Oh, really? I feel like there was a good.
Well, like even Nils wasn't there.
Okay. Like, yeah, I guess we didn't see some of those guys, but I think there were a really good. There was still a lot of really, really good
Yeah,
shooters
was it
there.
competitive? Absolutely. But you see a lot more of those guys competing leading up to nationals. And
Right.
then like Area 2 just kind of falls off for that upper echelon, like that top 1%.
Yeah. Yeah. Area 2. Well, that's actually why I moved out here. So I still think it's a fantastic match. I shot it last year, and I
Mm-hmm.
looked around. I said, I looked at shooting with Becky and Jake, and I'm like, I'm gonna move here, and they're like, Jessica, it gets really hot in the summer, and I'm like, I don't care. I think this is where I'm supposed to be. And I did, but yeah, I still think it's a great match. But I could definitely see what you're saying there with with some people not, and you've already exhausted all these resources throughout the year, and I'm sure people are going to pick nationals over an area match, and if that's the last one or the last vacation days you have, then I could definitely
Right.
see it doing that. But it definitely doesn't have any problem filling up. That's one thing about
Oh,
matches. There's so
yeah.
many years, it's crazy.
Yeah, I agree there. It'll always fill up, but
Yeah.
I like the area matches before nationals where you kind of get an idea of where the shooters are falling and how they're competing against each other leading up to nationals. So it's fun to follow.
Right. Right.
And after all the nationals were done here, Nils decided to go to Europe and then win IDPA Europe Championship. So
He's doing something. I've been thinking about contacting Jessica, his wife, and him to see if maybe they'd do a little training with me. 'Cause especially someone so tall. I have these long limbs and long legs that I still feel like a baby giraffe sometimes trying to figure out. It's almost like the distance. I can cover so much ground with them that I struggle with these awkward. I'm like, it's either 2 giant steps or a giant step and all these weird little. I feel like I'm trying to learn how to use my legs. So
right. Yeah, I
just
get that completely.
yeah.
All right. So what are your goals for next year?
So this next year, I'm just going to be really focused and intentional with my practice. And I don't have any big, I want to win this or I want to win that. It's just truly, I want to master this sport. I want to master shooting a pistol. I've had a slow but very steady uphill progress with things. And just being really focused on that, and like I said, being more intentional with the major matches that I'm shooting and practice. And I'm doing daily dry fire now. I'm started little like accountability videos for myself. I'm like, okay, if I do this every day, you know, just a little at a time, then I'll just keep getting better. But for me right now, it's not about winning. Like I said, it's about mastering the task. So,
Okay.
yeah. And then we'll
Awesome.
work next year. So,
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on. Is there anything else you wanted to?
no, this was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was really my pleasure, Dave.
It was my pleasure. I'm glad we could finally get it together and do it. So that's awesome.
Yes, and thank you for that too. The
Oh,
time
no,
zone.
you're welcome. Your schedule's crazy, so it's all good. No
Yeah.
problem.
Oh,
We'll have to have you on again.
yes, please. I would love to. And whenever I see you next, to just ask me and grab me, and we'll go shoot the Sand Viper so you can try it out.
Oh, okay. Are you going to be at SHOT Show?
I might be. I think that I'll probably make my way there. So
Okay. Well, I'll shoot you a text beforehand because I will.
okay, awesome, awesome. I look forward to it.
All right. Take care.
All right, thanks, Dave. You have a good one.
Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.